Thanks, Jim. Justin Stone here with EliteBaseball.tv, coming to you with the tip of the week. And although this may be one of our shorter podcasts, it may be the most important one we've ever done. Because as all players are preparing for their spring seasons, right now in a lot of the country, we're forced indoors. And baseball practice in itself can get very monotonous. But when you're in an indoor setting, it forces coaches to have to get more creative to keep players' attention, focused, and purposeful practice. And that's my theme for you today. I want to make sure that every time that we step into a coaching, teaching scenario, that we're doing intent in practice with purpose. And so that starts right when we're getting to play catch. I see so often our players get out and we begin to get our arms loose. And I always say there's a big difference between just getting our arms loose and working on a skill. No matter what it is I'm doing in practice, and we tend to start with playing catch, so I use that as an example. But we work into our mass ground balls or fly balls or outfield work. We get into a cage. For that hour and a half or 2 hours that you are indoors in that practice, and it can be outdoors as well, I see a lot more players getting reps than I do getting better. And there's a huge difference for that if we don't have intent in our practice. What is the purpose through each drill? What is the purpose in that practice, and are we getting better? Because if there is no purpose, and we're going through the motions of, yeah, I'm getting a lot of reps, and maybe if I'm even working hard in a rapid ground ball drill, or we got 150 swings in the cage that day, but what were you working on? And if you weren't working on something specific, you were getting in shape, but you weren't getting better. And that's a big difference. I use my own playing career as an example of that. I always wanted to be the guy that was the first one at practice, the last one to leave, and I always wanted to show the coaches I was putting in extra time and extra effort. And while that's all in good and building a good work ethic, when I look back, I don't ever feel like I was really working on anything. I was just taking reps. So although I was spending maybe an hour extra of practice than what everybody else was doing, that hour wasn't purposeful and it didn't necessarily make me better. So as coaches, when we get onto a field, we can't fall into the same trap. We have to make sure that everything we do, whether from our catch routine, getting position-specific drills within your catch routine. You can do that in short space in an indoor setting. When you're working your ground balls, what I like to do in my indoor setting is I'm not doing just straight ground balls or even varying them. Every time I come in, I want to work on a specific play. Because even if we're drilling it and we're doing the same play every time, it could be a forehand, backhand, progressing into a jump throw, remember that every play that we're going to get in a game, if you expect your players to succeed in that play, you have better practiced it 1,000 times in practice. And even the most athletic plays still have fundamentals to them. So I always integrate one new play in my ground ball, my mass ground ball work, into that day's practice. Next thing, when we're doing base running, instead of just going through base running fundamentals, have your infielders or outfielders put a live defense scenario. Even if it's simple as my outfielders are throwing through a cut, trying to get a player rounding a base. Yeah, we need more space indoors to do that, but it's going to make your base running more realistic. When you get on a field, that's much easier to do and can pit a live defense versus a live base running situation. And that's what makes base running so poor at the amateur level, is that we rarely get to practice it in a live game situation, and that's the best way to do it. Finally, from the offensive standpoint, put pressure on your offensive players when we're trying to work situational hitting and bunts. So we have some sort of competition or consequences on our ability to execute situational hitting or bunt offense. When we get into the cage and we're working on our swings, when we do our drill work has a specific purpose to it. With my players, I always like to have different drills for each player, knowing I know their swing flaws. So we may have 3 T drills we're doing that day, but all of our players may be doing different drills in that 3 T drill scenario based on what they specifically need for their mechanics or their swing. When we get into our flips, yeah, there's going to be times that we're working mechanics into feel, into timing, where we just may be doing change-up reps over and over again. But incorporate inside-outside work, count work, where we're making it more game specific to them and preparing them to have success in an in-game at bat. These are all very small examples of what we're talking about with practicing with intent. And you can think of other examples on your own, but the point of that is making sure that every time that we come in an hour and a half or 2 hour practice, that there's a purpose for everything we do. We're not just getting our arms loose. We're not just taking ground balls to get reps, and we're certainly not just taking swings in a cage. Because although that'll get your players tired and fatigued and make them feel like they did something for that day, it didn't make them better. So when you practice with intent, you're going to find that your players are actively getting better in a much quicker pace, and that's going to translate to success on the field. To see some of these practice-specific drills, come visit us at elitebaseball.tv. We have tons of them on the site. It's free for 48 hours. Check it out and help out your practices today.